Just like that, blinked and I missed it. Season 16 is over. Did I play this as much as I wanted to? Probably not. I've been playing a bunch of other stuff. I got my Switch too. So I haven't exactly been on the game all the time, whatever. I actually am still like 180 on the battle pass. So I did put in my fair share, especially at the beginning. But Season 16, it is over. It's almost over at this point. So let's break down how I feel about this season. If you remember, last time I did one of these, I said that Season 15 was the best season in Overwatch 2. At least I thought it probably could be. Like, there was a very good argument to say that Season 15 was the best season of Overwatch 2. Season 16 was also really good on paper. I feel like a lot of the stuff with Season 16 was great. Like, it's really exciting. It's what we wanted. But a lot of maybe not so much the execution, but just the state that the game has ended up in is not as good. Like, it is good, but it's not quite where I wanted it to be. And it's fine. Like, I really do want to play the game. Like, I have been playing a lot at the end of the season here. I've been trying to, grind the drive and everything. It hasn't been going incredible. I'm just kind of like even. But, we'll get into all of that. Let's go ahead. We're going to talk about the big elephant in the room, the big shebang, the big cheese. I'm going to stop saying big stuff. Stadium. What I really want to do on this channel is make an in-depth Stadium critique. I think there is a lot here, and I think there is a lot of detail that I really want to go into. I don't know if that's going to come out anytime soon, hopefully within the next couple of months, but for the time being, what are my initial, 2 months impression? Because I didn't do a 1 month later on Stadium like I typically do for some of the bigger stuff. What are my impressions of Stadium? Well, it is fun until it isn't. What do I mean by that? That's just a bunch of nonsense. Well, Stadium is an amazing breath of fresh air. You get in, you get to try all these cool builds, your characters start playing differently, you've got a bunch of different heroes to choose from. It's incredible. Everyone's trying stuff out, playing different stuff, etc., etc., etc. The more that you continue to play Stadium, though, I think the cracks start to show, especially in the balance. Now, of course, it's not going to be the most balanced game mode. I'm not looking for it to be, but I think that a lot of characters don't have multiple builds that are good, and a lot of those characters that only have one build or even multiple builds have a build that is so incredibly similar to how they legitimately play on live that it doesn't feel like I'm getting that cool, power up, like that fantasy of having this unique character to me, or this powered up character, especially since you start getting into later rounds where, yeah, you've got all these crazy abilities, but everyone's also bulkier and they do more damage and sometimes less damage comparatively, and a lot of times the numbers just don't add up. And so what you end up having is something where you really can't feel your power most of the time. There's a lot of mitigation, there's a lot of bulk, there's a lot of any of this stuff. Like, fights are super duper MOBA like. The problem is that they have Overwatch healing that's also scaling at the time. So MOBA like is not really the right phrase in terms of like saying how the fights actually break out. I mean, they play completely differently, and I don't know how much I enjoy late game Stadium nearly as much. And of course that begs the question, do you like early game Stadium? I do, unless we're rolling, then it's just not fun, right? Like, nobody likes a stomp. Like, it really is just like, I want to play the game with other people and we're all on, like, trading blows and everything. But, as the game progresses in Stadium, I feel like you lose a lot of the impact that the cool, fun abilities provide you. Does that make sense? Again, I'm not going to go into it so much. It is really fun. I do like it a lot. As a base, I think there are some problems, like what I was talking about earlier. I think the item selection is really poor. I like the item systems. I like how you can be really versatile and there's no penalty for that. I think that's a great start and a good twist for Overwatch. I just don't like the implementation of the majority of the items. I think that there are characters that have a lot of builds. I think like Reinhardt is a really good example of a character who has a lot of different unique playstyles that are relatively good, but then there's characters that really don't like hang. They don't like make it. They really don't have a lot of things that you can do with them, and it really does kind of suck. And there's a couple of other complaints that I have that are kind of being addressed in the future, like with the draft picking. I think that's going to really help Stadium. If I had to guess, I'm really looking forward to that. But for now, just leave it on this. I haven't really been playing Stadium like since the first couple of weeks. Like, it really is not sticking with me. Did I think it was going to? No. And I think that is like a good thing that I need to put out there. I'm not the target audience for Stadium. I am really, really into the main game and all of like the nuances there. Stadium is one of those things where it is overly complicated. I don't like a game that has too many aspects going on at one time, because like at what point is it all just piling on top of each other? How can I engage with every minutia and all the little mechanics there when they're all just kind of banging into each other and creating all of this chaos? You know what I mean? Not to say that it can't be done. Personally, don't find the appeal. Don't think it is as fun as regular Overwatch or stuff like that. So Stadium is over for me. I'll obviously keep going back and I'll play the new characters at the beginning of seasons, but this is not going to be a game mode that I get on Overwatch casually and go like, I think I'm going to play Stadium. Probably not. Let's just leave it there. Now, I was going to go on the Freya here, but I think we need to talk about the other big gameplay change that happened this season, because it's kind of affecting how I play Overwatch. Probably for the better for me in particular, but maybe not for everyone else. That's hero bans. Hero bans are contentious. They have created some drama, may not be the right word, but they have definitely created some strife in our community. And I just want to say that this current implementation of hero bans is definitely a net benefit. I think hero bans needed to exist. And I do want to say, before I get into all of this, you know, I think a lot of people are kind of misunderstanding what the purpose of a hero ban system is in random ranked games, right? This is not OWCS. This is not organized play. We cannot strategize about how our bans are going to work, right? I don't know who's on the enemy team. I don't know what they play. I don't know what they're planning on doing, because they don't know what they're planning on doing, right? This is not a strategic system. There is a little bit of strategy to it about like how you want to play around it, but for the most part, and this kind of goes with the complaints that a lot of the bigger content creators and myself, I'm not even saying as a content creator, just as a player of the game, is that there's a lot of characters in this game that are annoying or oppressive on certain maps and locations that I just don't want to play into. And since Blizzard is not changing them, give me some way to have a little bit of a better enjoyment when I have to play in those places, right? So hero bans are not here for strategy. They are here for fun. They are here to make the game more enjoyable in the parts where there are a lot of, you know, spiky aspects, using that game design term, right? The spike is too big, right? It is, I'm going to fall on my face, I'm going to die when I hit the spike kind of spike. Not like, ow, that kind of stings, right? That's a good spike. You want a little bit of strife. Like, that's what makes things fun and interesting. But when I'm like, my team is banging their head into Widow on Havana over and over again, well, let's just get rid of her. You know what I mean? So for me, hero bans are absolutely necessary, and I play a lot of ranked with my friends, and when we play, we always are like, okay, so this is, let's say we're Junkertown, right? Widow's gone, and then like, you know, we'll get rid of Freya, and then, you know, we'll get rid of, I don't know, what else could be really annoying on Junkertown? Maybe Zen for our tank player, you know, that could be something, right? So boom, we put that in, we see how it rolls, whatever, and then we get to, you know, guarantee that Widow is gone, and that's great. And I was really, really enjoying the hero ban system until I started playing solo. Two things here. One, going back to quick play was awful. Think of it like this, okay? If you cannot play Widow on her best maps in competitive, where can you do that now? Quick play. So it feels like going back to quick play is actually increasing the amount of those annoying heroes on those specific maps a lot more, because heroes that are banned a lot, like Freya and Widow, and, you know, I guess like Sombra and Ball and like those, you're going to see more of them in quick play now, because that's the place where they get to play them a lot more often. That kind of makes me want to not play quick play anymore, and that's going to push me into playing more comp, and really I should be doing that. Like, I am a Masters player. I should be playing more comp. Like, I can do it. Like, I don't know why I'm so afraid of comp. If my rank goes below diamond, you know, I just get really upset with myself. But I just need to play. Like, I need to not be scared. I need to be confident, you know, and I think that this is actually helping me in particular not play quick play as much and play ranked more casually. So I'm not super stressed out when I play ranked because I don't play it very often. I can play it more comfort, you know, like I can be more comfortable when I play ranked, and I don't feel as bad on losses, and I don't feel as stressed, and I think that's helping me in particular. The other problem is that, you know, I was talking about I play with groups a lot, right? We can guarantee ourselves bans. Great. But when you play solo, there's a lot of times where you're not going to be able to guarantee yourself stuff, and it's going to feel really, really bad. It can feel like your bans didn't really matter, or the fact that you have to like ban off of what your team bans in order to get like something coherent, where you don't accidentally ban the random thing that somebody else just threw in there on the third slot just because, right? That feels really bad when someone's random pick that's just worthless gets thrown in there, and you're like, well, now we've just wasted a ban and they have a much better advantage there, right? So I think there's a bit of a problem with skewing bans in order for teams and like groups of 3, especially groups of 3, to just kind of take over the entire ban, and then you're kind of left like, well, there's not really much I can do anymore. These guys have just determined what our bans are going to be. It's not very fun. It can feel like you don't have much of a say on it. I don't know how you fix that problem. I think it's just going to be kind of the nature of it. So if you want to have the ban system work properly, maybe duo or trio, and then you'll actually get, you know, a much better look and a much better feel about how the ban system actually is, because I think it is really nice to have when you can guarantee yourself certain things. Another problem, and I've heard this talked about a little bit, but if somebody is playing like a niche hero, one that isn't banned super often, they can just kind of guarantee that they ban their counters out, and then there's like nothing you can do, right? Obviously there's stuff you can do, and maybe they're playing characters that like aren't very good. Like I think Roadhog is a really good example of like, you can get rid of Ana and you can get rid of, we'll say, Orisa, and you can guarantee that. And yes, there are things you could do against Roadhog. There are definitely characters you can play, but the easier things, the ones that are the most straightforward, are off the table. But then the easier, straightforward counters to your comp are much more likely not off the table. You know what I mean? So it's not the fact that it's uncounterable, it's that the enemy team has a much easier way to take apart your team if they're able to do that. Does that make sense? And I think that is an issue. I think that is a really big issue, because it can feel like, what was the point of me trying to ban stuff if they're just going to play some off meta? I would never knew they were going to be doing this, or like putting all their chips into this. Like there's no reason then, right? The bans become worthless when somebody has this like super tricked out one trick. Does that make sense? I keep asking, does that make sense? I'm just doing different takes. Sorry, I don't mean to like repeat myself like that. And of course that means like those niche one tricks definitely have a much better time like getting through and not having to play with their counters. And then like, so you're allowing one tricks to play their character, but also not have to worry about the problems that happen with one tricking. And that's not like perfect. Like that's not going to happen all the time, but it can happen pretty consistently. And you know, hero bans aren't necessarily aimed at one tricks per se, but there's always a risk that your one trick or one of the 2 characters you're playing is not going to be available. So you do need to branch out. And I don't think if we are going to be punishing the players, you know, and as I say punishing, I don't think it's actually punishing, but you know, bear with me here, right? If we're punishing the Freya players and the Mercy players and the characters that are getting banned a lot, the Widow players, right? Why do we not then punish the Hog players or the Ball players, or something even more niche, like maybe the Venture players or something like that, right? Where does the line stop, right? And that's just going to change with public perception. If Venture gets really good and gets perma-banned every game, well then that's one guaranteed ban that opens up one of those super banned characters to fall into Venture slot, one that's like a niche ban. You know what I mean? So it just depends on like what the community perceives as, you know, bad or what they don't want, right? And on top of that, I can feel it coming. Like I know that right now the meta hasn't like super shifted from the beginning of the season, so a lot of the bans, you know, if you ban stuff at the beginning of the season, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be like okay at the end still. As the meta shifts, especially with a new season, people are not going to realize that certain characters aren't as good or not as valuable of a ban. If you're banning for like strength, you know, if you're banning for like some characters being super oppressive on certain maps, right? You know, I think Freya is going to be a good example. Freya is good still, I think, but not nearly as good. And if she gets any worse or falls further out of the meta, how long will it take for people not to instantly ban Freya every game? I have played a lot of comp this season, and maybe 90% of the time Freya has been banned. Very little have I been able to see or play Freya in ranked. How long are people going to hold on to that idea? If Freya is bad, are people going to realize that? Are they going to really recognize that Freya being gone is really not doing them anything? It's just a holdover from last season. I don't know. I don't know how long we're going to figure that out. Hopefully, when you remove more people from the pool, then that will make the problem characters much more dramatic. So then you start banning them more often. You see what I mean? Like when those characters are in the game, you feel it more because there's less characters to choose from to not have them. You see what I mean? I don't really know. We'll have to see, right? So sorry, this section is a little long. I don't want to make a full video on this per se, but I did have a lot to say about the hero ban system. Basically, I had some ideas about how to improve the system, but as I've explained them, they just aren't working. I think there does need to be a little bit more. Maybe you add a save somehow. Maybe you add another ban. Don't shoot me, don't shoot me. Please don't shoot me. As the game gets bigger, you know, another ban would be nice. Then we could have a proper snake draft. That could work. That could work. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think there's a lot to improve with this system, but overall, net benefit. I'm glad it's here. I don't want it to go away. That is for sure. So, hero bans, great. That took me a long time to get through, but just know I am here. I'm a fan. Good hero bans. So, let's cycle back to Freya, because Freya is the big problem with Season 16. One of the big problems. Obviously, I talked about the other one. Listen, Freya was a nightmare this season. Freya was so good, and she's not as good now, and I think that is fine. That's good. I like Freya on paper. She was super good. She sparked me to make a video that was in my top 5 most viewed videos on this channel. Thank you guys for that one, by the way. Completely random, completely out of the blue. But yes, Freya is not as good anymore, but she was a terror. I mean, like, she could just effectively one-shot. She was silent. I mean, she still is silent, but she had all this crazy stall, and I think that now that that stall is gone, that is why Freya is not nearly as oppressive anymore, because it makes her flanking potential a lot harder, because I always knew that Freya was going to really suffer in duels, right? Like, she is not going to be great on if she meets another DPS on a flank, right? But if she's silent and stalling in the air, she's never going to meet somebody else. But now that she can't do that nearly as well, much more often you're going to be able to find her, catch her out, kill her, and I think that's exactly what she needed. I think the changes that they made were overall really good. I still think they needed to tweak the sound design a little more, but Freya is in a much better spot than she was at the beginning. Now, Freya being good was part of the problem, but I think the other part of the problem was that she brought in a meta that is not very fun, especially for ladder. So let me explain here, right? BAP got buffed a lot better. BAP's really good into Freya. Hit scan, he can't get blown up by her because he's got regen burst and lamp and everything. Lifeweaver, also really good into Freya. BAP, Lifeweaver are a great combo to get away from Freya, but they're also, as we've realized now, a lot more defensible and a lot harder to deal with than, you know, we thought before, because they've been buffed up over time and now they work a lot better together. Lifeweaver is so annoying to fight against, especially as somebody who plays a lot of tank. I'm fighting these BAP Lifeweaver backlines and I can't get to them. Like, I literally cannot get to them. They're playing really far back. If I ever try to get anywhere near them, Lifeweaver pedals up or he dashes away or anything like that. BAP is just always like more vertical than I am, you know, trying to get back there, depending on the map, obviously. But God, it is so annoying to have to deal with these guys together. They just go really well together. I don't think it's particularly hard to play BAP Lifeweaver than it is, like, you know, like other classic combos like Ana Brig, I think have a lot of skill together. I think like a Lucio with plus anybody, I think is going to be a lot of skill, but I think Bap Lifeweaver is like really independent, and it's a lot easier to play. The characters, you know, I don't think Bap is easy per se, but he definitely isn't the hardest character on the roster, especially when you're just trying to get some, you know, stay alive and be sustaining. Like that is when Bap is kind of at his easiest, and that's a lot of what you're doing in that comp anyways. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that Freya brought in a lot of meta shakeups, which some were fine, some were not. But Lifeweaver has been in so many of my games. And I don't think people realize that Lifeweaver is good when Freya is there, right? He's not that great when Freya isn't there and he doesn't have a BAP or somebody else who's like really going to help him or like really synergizes with him. But we keep playing him. I just keep getting people playing him. And it's so much easier to play Lifeweaver now because, one, people think he's good. He's not good. He's not good. I'm saying it now. He's not actually good. He has a niche role in the meta. He is not actually good as a complete overall pick, right? Okay. And since there's less supports a lot of the time, you know, you're going to get your Annas and your Mercies and maybe your, probably not Moira, but like a couple other supports get banned. Lifeweaver now becomes a nice option. So people think Lifeweaver is good, and there's less supports to choose from. Lifeweaver has been in so many of my games in this like, you know, high diamond, low masters range. And I'm sick of it, man. I'm sick of it. I hate fighting against this character. I hate having this character on my team. I love playing Lifeweaver, but I'm not gonna play Lifeweaver in ranked. Like, are you kidding me? I cannot do this. We need Lifeweaver to be reworked or retouched or something so that like when people eventually do play him, that I don't want to like pull my hair out. Because especially as a tank player with a Lifeweaver, like they don't understand what you're doing a lot of the time and they will pull you out or they're very afraid, right? And it's just not fun. It feels like there's no offense, there's nothing, there's no pressure. Like I want a nade. I want a nade. That's all I want. I want a nade. Sorry. A little bit of a rant there, but what I'm saying, going back to Freya, is that Freya had shaken things up, right? She was very good. She shook up the meta. That's always good. We always do want that. So as much as it's kind of like not amazing that Freya was super duper good, I think she brought in a lot of variety and gave season 16 a shape. You know, like season 16 has its own identity in the meta department, and that's because of Freya. And also Freya was in Stadium, and oh my god, that character was so annoying to fight against. I only played against her on the first couple days that she got there, and I mean, like, what are we doing, man? Like, I think this is like a problem with Stadium, like, and I'll go into all of that once I do my full like breakdown of it. I think there are just some things, it's just too easy to make characters good at the things they're already good at and just keep pumping into it, and Freya was a perfect example. Like, yes, the bola shot that offered take aim or whatever, her updraft, that was definitely something, but just her doing truckloads of damage from million miles away is just something crazy. And they're adding Pharah in 2 seasons. Everyone's like, oh my god, Sojourn, we don't have to deal with Sojourn. You guys do not get it. You guys do not get it. Pharah is not what we want. This is not what I would like. I'm trying to be positive, trying to be up and happy. I'm not going to keep complaining. No more ranting. Whatever. Freya is good overall, but like she definitely had some pain points, that is for sure. All right, the collabs. One, let's just get it out of the way. The Gundam collab. Don't know anything about Gundam. Do not care. But guys, can we talk? Can we have a real conversation here? Soldier gets so many skins, especially collab skins. Like, he's literally like 3 collabs in a row. He will be in the G.I. Joe collab. They haven't revealed at this point who's actually in it, but like, let's be 100 with ourselves, right? Soldier's gonna be in it. Soldier gets so many skins. You know, we always talk about like, oh my god, Kiri and Juno and, you know, Mercy, they always get so many skins every season. Dude, Soldier is like sleeper pick for like one of the most like skin hungry characters. I think we really need, as a community, if we're really going to be upset about skins, which, you know, whatever, but like if we're going to be upset about skins, we need to find every single character that gets a million of them. So Mercy, Juno, Kiriko, right? But also Soldier, Lifeweaver, Reinhardt, Genji. That's 7. Reaper, That's 8. That's 8 characters who are like guaranteed every season to get at least one, and very likely to get the collab ones. So when we just say like, oh, these 3 characters get skins every season, that just allows them, you know, like we in our heads pretend like, oh, well, all the rest of the however many, like we'll say 15 legendaries in a season are going to other characters. But really, it's like these 8, maybe 9 characters get the majority of the skins every season, and the rest are like sprinkled out barely to the rest of the roster. So if you're gonna be mad about skins, we need to be mad about everybody. I am so mad. Like, how does Soldier get away with so much? Is it because like nobody realized he's just like white boy number 7, and everyone's like, well, it's Soldier, you know, whatever. Like, I understand these characters are popular and played and whatnot, but like, it's a little ridiculous, the roster of characters that get them compared to the ones that don't. And Lucio's still here without one. You know, I gotta represent. I was a Lucio main for years of my life when I was playing in college. So like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? So that brings me to the Street Fighter collab. Now, Street Fighter is right up my alley. This is a collab of my dreams, right? That's the one that I want. Blanca Winston is great. M. Bison Sigma is great. You know, Dalsim Zen, great picks, right? My problem with this collab, and you know, this is Street Fighter coming up, right? Is probably not to do with Blizzard per se. It's really to do with Capcom. Capcom have this crazy obsession with the World Warriors, aka the characters that are in Street Fighter 2, right? Those are the World Warriors, right? They always market them. They never market their new characters. It's always, whenever they're doing collabs or stuff, it's always the original. So you're gonna have like Ryu, Chun-Li, Ken wasn't in this collab, but like Cammy, and you're gonna have Geef, and you're gonna have Blanca, and you're gonna have Bison, right? Everybody in this collab, other than Jury, is a World Warrior. Well, Ryu and Ken are technically from the first game, but you know, they are World Warriors too. Like, let's be real, right? And it's really, really frustrating when they say that it's a Street Fighter 6 collab, and then they only have characters from Street Fighter 2 and then one character from Street Fighter 4. Or are they all in Street Fighter 6? Yes. What's the problem? It's none of their Street Fighter 6 designs. It's all their classic designs. What is the point of calling it a Street Fighter 6 collab when it's nothing to do with Street Fighter 6? I understand the classic designs are in Street Fighter 6, but like, I just don't understand why we have to do this every time there's a Capcom collab with Street Fighter. We always just have to go through maybe they'll have like great picks like Marisa Zarya, or maybe they'll have Jamie Lifeweaver, or maybe they will have, I don't know, JP Sigma or something like that. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff you could do with the new characters. Aki Moira, you know, nope. Cammy, Ryu, Chun-Li, you know, just get them out there. Come on, get them out there. It's a little annoying, right? Guile's also a World Warrior. It's annoying. I'm a little peeved by it, obviously. And the reason why I'm so mad, I think, is because there were 8 skins. There were 8 skins. They had so much room to work, right? Nothing. Like, they didn't go they didn't branch out at all. They didn't even put Luke. Luke is supposed to be the face of Street Fighter now. They didn't even give Luke anything. Like, Capcom just make me so confused. I'm not gonna keep on this forever. The quality of the skins is good. I mean, the bundle was expensive, but like, yeah, I mean, the skins are good. Like, it turned out well. I'm just kind of mad about like why this keeps happening with Capcom in particular. But is it really that important? I mean, no. I'm a curmudgeon. I don't know, man. Like, I like Jamie. Sue me. I don't know. Guys, you know what happened this year? You know what happened this month, rather? It's Pride. What did Overwatch do for Pride? Like, I started thinking about it. I was like, did they actually, like, do anything this year? Nothing new? There's a comic, isn't there? There's a comic. There's one comic that I didn't read. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't be talking about this. But, like, in-game, it feels like Pride has just been, like, hey, guys, don't forget, it's June. You're on Midtown. And, like, that's it. Like, is there even, like, a splash screen about it or anything? I feel like we really need more. Like, surely every year we can just get, like, some name cards or, like, profile pictures or something, you know, like, even just one to celebrate that it's, you know, it's Pride for that year. I don't know. I think they should do a little bit more. they are starting to get a healthy cast of queer characters, and I feel like they're just kind of like barely acknowledging them as it stands, or at least they're that part of their character, right? So I don't know. I think that they should start trying to do a little bit more for Pride every year, just a little more to acknowledge it in game. And I think that's kind of where it is. Like, yes, they had the comic, but like nothing in game was really showing Pride so much blatantly. Like, yes, there are little things in there here and there. I don't know. I think that they could do a much better job when it comes to this. We've had better years, right? Like, we've had better Prides in Overwatch. I gotta jump in here. I'm actually editing this video now, but I realized I missed a big game mode. That is the October 2020 patch, which very well might be the final like past legacy patch. What do we call those? Classics that we get going forward. So I did want to talk about it because I do have a couple of thoughts on it. The October 2020 patch is one of the mythical patches. A lot of people say it's the best state Overwatch 1 ever was in. Having played it, you know, I did play it at the time, like I was playing Overwatch at this time, but having played it again after so many years, I understand why people think this. I think the reason why the October 20 patch feels so good to a lot of people is that I think the time to kill is just right. It's not that it's any different from like the GOATS patch or anything. It's that the structure of the game and the characters that are in the game and available to play actually allow that time to kill to be a threat, but not a problem. Things die really quickly, but there's a lot of ways to mitigate it and support and survive through it, right? So, you know, like characters like Bap and Ana and those characters with big burst healing feel really good in this patch because it really feels like you are saving someone's life, and it's like a moment in time. Like, it's not like you have a really long time to do it, you're really going to guarantee to do it. It feels a lot more skillful, and it feels like those abilities like Nade and Lamp and all of those are a lot more impactful than they ever really have been. So the October 20 patch, I actually did like playing. Like, I did want to do the missions for it. Like GOATS, I just abandoned the missions, but I did want to do the missions for the October 2020 patch. That being said, it is still older Overwatch, and I do like it. There are still things like ults that charge way too fast, in my opinion. They're just characters like Doomfist and a bunch of the old, like, pre-rework characters that just don't fit in or are just really annoying. And yes, the game feels a lot more structured and it feels a lot better. And I do understand why people love it and why we play. I mean, why I played it. It's when I started competing in Overwatch was during October 2020. Literally got signed. I was in my college team, but I joined my team in October of 2020. So I was playing on that patch when I like started my journey basically as a competitive player. I don't miss it. Like, it was fun to come back to and just see how it was, but this is why I think the classic modes are probably going to die down, obviously because we're getting a lot closer to like the present, but two, it's not as fun. The game has started taking shape closer to what it is now, so there's not really a reason to go back to Classic. The only other Classic I can think is probably going to happen, if I had to guess, is going to be the beta patch for Overwatch 2, because that I think feels a lot more different. And honestly, I miss the beta patch a lot. I actually think there's obviously enough going on that's kind of flawed in that regard, but I actually really liked how the Overwatch 2 beta felt, and I like how the game feels now. But there was a big time in between, like from launch for like, probably till like season 9, where I think that the game did not feel particularly great compared to what it felt like back then. And a lot of that's because of like passives and stuff and a bunch of tweaks that got changed and character changes and everything. But yeah, I think Classic is going to be done. If I had to say, I think that I had the most fun with this Classic. And then, I liked I guess the first one, fine. Like, obviously it's just silly, but the other two just were not up my speed, and they were not very great to go back to in like a ranked environment, and that's what I'll end it on. I think the reason why October 2020 felt so good is because role queue was enabled, and that just makes the game feel a lot better when you're not playing with people. It just feels like the game works. Like, it actually is fun to play without having to know everybody and actually being able to coordinate like every single little thing. And like that is why Overwatch, I think, is a game that is starting to catch its legs back up, because it's not team oriented until you want it to be. I think that's when Overwatch is perfect. And I think the October 2020 patch finally started getting on that path that we eventually needed to take another 5 years to get to. But we're here now, and I think that is what is good. So I'll leave it there. October 2020, it was a good time. It was a good time. And finally, that leads me to the balance, which I kind of already talked about with Freya. Overall, the balance was fine. I think that the new perks are probably most of the time better. Not better than their counterparts, I'm saying better than what used to be there. You know, like I think perks are really starting to feel a lot more at home. Definitely maybe a lot because some of them are just kind of like must picks, no brainers. But also because that they are steadily improving, getting better. They will continue to improve. I think season 17 or 18 is getting like a big shakeup with perks. I don't remember in particular. So that's something to look forward to. Really, what I want to say here is I want to talk about not the patch notes as in like what was changed. I want to talk about the literal patch notes on their website and in the browser, okay, the client. We've got to separate the real balance and the stadium balance better. I know that there are ways that they are separated. I think they need to be in two separate places because it is really hard to read these patch notes and get through them when the bottom of the patch notes is just this insanely long, drawn out paragraph where they talk about specific items and abilities by name. Bro, I don't know the names. There's a lot of names to memorize. Like, surely we can put the icons or something with them so I kind of get it more. I think there needs to be a little bit more effort put into making these stadium patch notes distinct from the rest of them, because I do not read the stadium patch notes because there's so much of them and it's a slog and it's literally like homework. Like I have to have a reference up the entire time when I'm like trying to figure out. That is personal, and I don't even play stadium that much, but it's like I should want to read and see like what things changed and like how everything is, but like I don't. I really don't. I think they need to change how that is like perceived, especially like in the client as well, because it is just this really long list. So that's another thing. Blizzard, you got to work on your website. You got to work on your patch notes. They are a little falling behind with Stadium added. So keep that in mind, please. And I think that is probably it for me. I ranted a little longer about certain things than I thought. And this was a good season. I mean, this really was a good season. I just don't think it was quite what I wanted. I think a lot of it, what kind of not fell on its face, but didn't quite get over the finish line like I had hoped. In the metaphor, let's say, it did not finish as fast as I hoped. Like it was dragging behind, but it still got there. It got the job done. It's good. I think there is a foundation here. Stadium has a really fleshed out roadmap that is changing all the time. So Stadium, and I want to talk about that. You know, I don't typically like to look ahead that much, but Stadium does have a really bright future. I really do think it's a good idea to have 3 or 4 heroes a season, you know, because then that creates the hype. And while there are things that, you know, there aren't that many new things in a season, say, you know, next season does have, you know, a decent amount still. It's got 2 map reworks and a new map and map voting and 3 or 4 is Tracer coming next season? I think like 4 stadium characters. Like I think adding all of this to stadium is really going to keep the flow of stuff really well as we continue to go into, like, not everything is going to be as busy as perks in a season or stadium in a season, right? There are going to be some seasons that aren't as exciting, but at least you'll always have nice stadium updates, new characters, new stuff about it. I think that's a really good way to keep the game interesting as they, you know, continue between, like, when they're in their lull periods. Also, just can I say, can we have more fun names for characters? We've recently, you know, we've had Space Ranger become Juno. We've had Freya, who's just her name, and now Aqua is Wu Yang. Like, guys, Aqua is more fun. Like, yes, we've had like Hazard and Venture. Like, I'm not saying like it doesn't happen, but like I like when the names are fun. I don't like when it's just their name. Like, I can look up the lore and know their actual name, but like I think it's more fun to call somebody Aqua instead of calling them Wu Yang. You know what I mean? That's just a little thing. Again, that's looking forward to next season. I'll talk all about that in 2 months from now. But I think I should probably just leave it here. Yeah, that is season 16. It was good. Not amazing in my opinion, but it's still pretty damn good. So, thank you guys for watching, listening. I will see ya. Oh, sorry, I almost burped my brains out. I will see you later. And if you're still here, thank you guys so much. Like, subscribe, comment, do all of that good stuff. I have a second channel video coming out sometime in July. Be on the lookout for that. Please go to my second channel, Lane's Domain, link down below if you are interested about that. Join my Discord down below if you want to join my community. I do stream live on Twitch very rarely. I will be streaming live on Tuesday at 5 p.m. EST, so be there. Probably get some drops, if I can only assume that you'll be able to get drops. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know I'm kind of sporadically uploading. It's not nearly as consistent, but it's a lot better for me. So bear with me. There'll be videos coming out of that stadium critique. Hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll have something very scripted, very in detail for you. Okay, thank you guys. Peace out.